Hi there. What we're going to do now is we're going to put together a little indicia, made in America indicia. This is something that I had to create. I didn't have to actually create it, but as a graphic designer, you want to create things like this as opposed to just going and doing simple things. So this is just a little indicia that's used on packaging, labeling, and it basically you call it an indicia. You can also call it in logo terms. You could call it an emblem. These are the type of again, why is this relevant? You guys will probably be working on logo design in some courses, and one of the types of designs you might want to do is an emblem or an indicia like this. So I thought I'd try to put one together to show you how I approach making this. So this is my finished piece over here. And what I did over here, let me go to my layers panel real quick. I got 3 layers. The background layer, which I have there, which is a guide layer. Now, just so that you know, when I originally did this, I didn't have a guide. I just made this. But I thought visually it would be a lot easier for me, and it would be easier for you to understand what I'm doing if I made a guide. So I just basically copied my final piece, and I put it over here, locked it on a layer, made it partly transparent, so I could build right on top of it, and you could kind of always see what's going on with it. So that's really why that's there. And of course I got my layer here, which is that element right there. And then I have this layer right here, which is that part of the element right there, the text and line work and the graphic work right there. So I'm going to do something very similar to this in this particular exercise. Let me start off by creating a new layer in front of layer 3. And this is where I'm going to start building my little graphic of the flag. So I'm going to zoom this over a little bit. Oh, before I do that, actually I want to talk to you quickly about stars. I'm going to be using stars in here. And when you come down to your graphic shapes, all right, I'm going to grab the star tool, and I'm going to set this to just default black and white. Now, when you come over here and you click and drag, you create a star. That's what that star looks like. But that there is not an American flag star. That's just a basic star. To make an American flag, and again, some of you might know this, some of you might not. To make an American flag star, what you're going to do is you're going to click to begin making yourself a star like that. Then you're going to come over, if you're on a Mac or a PC, you're going to hold down the Alt or the Option key. And you'll see what happens when I do that. I let go. My star goes back to being a regular star. When I hold the Alt or Option key down, I get that star. When I let go, I now have something which is a little bit more like an American flag star. So that's all I wanted to show you with that, just to make sure you understand that this is what this is about. This is Adobe Illustrator, and these are some of the things that you do in Illustrator that I think you're going to find very useful. So let's get back to this. So what I'm going to do now is I got up in the view menu, I have smart guides and I have snap to point set up on this thing. So what's now happening is as I move around here, let me get my regular tools. I move around here, I'm seeing different things. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to change over to my ellipse tool. Let's start off with the ellipse tool. And you can see I can find my center point. See how I can find my center point? Because I'm getting signals from the program. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to find my center point. I'm going to hold down the Shift key and the Alt key, or the Option key. Shift, Option, Shift, Alt. The reason I'm doing that is I want to drag a circle out from the center. And I'm going to place it right about, oh boy, this is tricky, right about there. That's good enough. All right, again, I'm going to make this, it's going to slightly vary, but that's okay. You get the general idea. That's what I'm trying to do. So now I have my center portion of my American flag emblem. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start building the elements I need for the American flag. I got a good star right here, but I think I'll redraw the star. Actually, let me click on that centerpiece there, and let me remove the fill. Why? So that you could actually see what's underneath there. I'll worry about doing the filling and stuff of all this stuff in a minute. So I got my circle. This is going to define the center part of my little emblem. So what I want to do now is I want to create my flag. Now, when I build this thing, the elements are not going to be in their proper stacking order. I will fix that when I get done. I'm just going to build these elements right now, and then I will restack the elements so that I can make a mask, which will then make my final piece. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, get my star tool again, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to drag myself out a star. Something along the lines of this. Drag it out to about like that. There we go. Okay, and again, just so that you understand, I'm shortcutting this because I want to make this a shorter video for you. I had to spend a little more time figuring this out when I actually did it in the first place. But what I'm really concerned with here is you see the tools and you see the way I work with the tools to develop this little indicia. That's what really is important to me right now, more than anything else. And it's pretty close to the method that I built this. So now I have this star here. I'm going to select it, edit, copy, okay? Edit, paste in place. I mean, you can also use the keys, but I'm just demonstrating this so that you get a really good idea. I like to use arrow keys a lot, so I'm just going to arrow key this thing over until I get it where I want it, bring it down, and boom, I'm good right there. Edit, copy again, just so that you know, or actually I can go just edit, paste in place, because I've actually copied the one already. So I'm going to move this over, and then I'm going to bring that down, and place that star in its proper place. So now I have my 3 stars. Easy. Now I want to create that field of blue. To do that, I'm going to come up here, I'm going to grab my rectangle tool, and I'm going to click and I'm going to drag to create a rectangle just about like that. Now the rectangle is way too big, but I can come in and I can adjust the size of the rectangle and make it a little bit tighter, because I don't need all that rectangle. I just need the rectangle to go. Let me deselect it and show you. The rectangle just needs to go beyond that circle right there. Okay? So now I have my my rectangle set up, and I have to create my stripes. So what I did to create the stripes was, again, I created a very large rectangle. Let me see if I can do this so I don't interfere with the other one. There we go. I created a very large rectangle, and I can see I didn't quite do that right. I'm going to make that a little bit deeper here. Got to make that a little deeper, and I want to make sure that this goes just beyond the circle, like to about, well, it's going to stick there, so I guess that's where it's going to be. Okay, so there I have my field that I'm going to create my stripes with. So how did I create the stripes? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stripes that I'm using. So if you think in terms of 100%, what you're going to do is you're going to divide it by 5, and that would give you 20%. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and into my scale tool, I'm going to double click on this, and notice that I have, instead of uniform, I have non-uniform. And the reason that this is set up, just so that you understand, I just built this thing minutes ago, so now I'm coming back in and I'm actually demonstrating it. So the nice thing about Adobe Illustrator is it records all of my settings. So a lot of my settings will be there waiting for me when I go back in to reproduce this. So this is set to non-uniform, a horizontal width of 20%, and a vertical width of 100%, which means that it's not going to mess with the height of this. It's going to slim it down to make it 20% of its original size. So let's go down and hit OK, and there you go. So I'm going to go edit, copy, edit, paste in place, and then I'm going to arrow key it. And again, I know this is slow, but I like using the arrow key simply because the arrow key lets me control my motion better. And there is my first one there, edit, paste in place. And I'm going to move it over to here. And believe it or not, there are all the elements that I need to create that central graphic. So what I did was, and this is something I should explain as well, and I've talked to you about this in other videos, I generally like to, when you open up a new file in Adobe Illustrator, you get all these default settings in here, all these default colors, I should say. I generally don't like to leave them in there. I think they get in the way. So what I tend to do is I tend to remove them all. The way that you do that is you come up to here and you click on this and you go select all unused. And it will select all the unused colors. Now, just so that you know, I'm going to show you this in a second. I went to Cooler to get these colors. American flag colors. And instead of me trying to figure out what American flag colors are, I went to Cooler because there's been dozens and dozens and dozens of other designers that have gone in looking for American flag colors, and it makes it easier for me to go find American flag colors that are appropriate. And you try to use your technology. So now you see that these two colors I've also added in here with these colors. These colors are not being used, and I don't want them anymore. So once I go in and I select them, all right, I'm going to go delete swatches and then hit yes, and those swatches are gone. So basically what I now have are the colors that I want to use to create my American flag, and no more. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to click on that. I'm going to make sure that my fill is forward. I'm going to actually remove the stroke first, make my fill forward, and click blue to bring the blue in. Now remember what I said. I have some arrangement problems here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go edit cut. This is the quick way to do this. Select that circle right there and go edit paste and back. So now that field of blue is pasted behind the circle. There's a reason I want to do that. Select my 3 stars because all 3 of these stars are going to end up being the same thing. I'm going to bring the fill forward, remove it, bring the stroke forward. I'm sorry, bring the stroke forward, remove it, bring the fill forward, and hit the white. And now I have my field completely done. This is really very simple stuff. It's just a matter of thinking your way through the process, understanding how to go about doing it, making your plan, and implementing it. So now I also have these 3 fields, and I happen to know that all 3 of these fields are going to be the same color. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key, and I'm going to select all 3 of them. And once again, I got a black stroke on it, so I'm going to come here, and I'm going to click on the stroke, hit none, and then bring the fill forward, and I'm going to make them red, flag red. Again, they're in the wrong place. So while they're still selected, edit cut, and then grab my circle right here, and edit paste and back. So now I have my entire piece of art for the center of this thing built. It's all ready to go. And all I need to do is to make it or give it its final appearance. Now, by coming over to my layer, you'll see that I'm on layer 4 and there's nothing else here that's in the way. I can use the marquee tool to marquee through all the elements that I want selected, like that. Now, everything that I created there is selected. I'm going to go up to the object menu. I'm going to come down to clipping mask, which is essentially a way of clipping out areas that you don't want to show, clipping mask, and I'm going to choose make. And whoops, I got a problem. Let's go edit, undo clipping mask, and what I need to do is I need to take that circle right there, and I need to go object, arrange, bring to front. Okay, so basically the clipping mask, which is that circular shape right there, needs to be in front of everything. I believe what happened was that one star was still sitting in front of that clipping mask, or that clipping mask shaped circle, so it caused that to happen. Let's see if I'm correct. Let's select everything, object, clipping mask, make, and there we go. Now I have it. If I hide my background layer, you can see exactly what we got. So that's it. That's how you do that. Now, as far as the text is concerned, we're going to go back in and we're going to do that. This is also pretty easy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get my oval tool, my ellipse tool, and let's do the same thing we did before. Let's create a new layer. So put another layer up here and let's make sure we're on that layer. Again, because this thing is set up, I can find the center point right there. I'm going to hold the Shift key and the Alt key, and I'm going to start dragging a circle out from the center. That's what I like about this more than anything else, is I actually can control the positioning of my objects. I want it to come right out from the center, and I think you can see that it's pretty much hitting Made in America. It's hitting all those text. That's exactly where I want that shape to go, and I'm going to let go. So now I have my shape that I'm going to use to create my text. Now, the text, let's quickly look at the text for a second. The text is, go to the character menu. The text is set in Myriad Pro, bold. Again, just so that you understand, why am I seeing this way? I'm seeing it this way because essentially I just built this and the settings have been captured by Adobe Illustrator, and they're coming up. So it's Myriad Pro Bold 52 point, and I have this set to 188. That's the tracking, the space between the letters. What this one is for? This one is for the America. This is going to make the line America. The settings are a little tiny bit different for Made in and America. The Made in has a tracking of, I believe it was 200, which is slightly smaller than this, which is 288, so that I get that spacing of letters along the bottom there. Also, when I go to set this type, what's going to happen? Oh, and by the way, let me go back for a second, and let me lock that layer so we don't have any interference with it. Okay, now I can go back to my text and we talk a little bit more about that, and I'll do it. So basically what I'm going to do, Myriad Pro Bold 52 point, this is going to be set to an offset of -35, which I'm going to remove for a second. Let me just remove that. And I'm going to change this from 288 to 200. The reason that I'm doing that is I want to make the Made in first. Okay, so the Myriad Pro, if you're going to do this to the size that I did it, and I just want you to understand, I did it this size. You're going to do it to another size, so your settings are going to be slightly different. You're going to have to go in and make some modifications to this. But the basic plan that I'm doing will be the same as you. All right, so Myriad Pro Bold 52 point, tracking 200 with no baseline shift. That means it's going to end up sitting right on that line. To do this, I come into the type, I get my type on path, I come up here and I very carefully, oh, and by the way, let's go to paragraph real quick. What you want to do is you also want to send it to be center aligned in the paragraph. You don't want it to be left aligned. You want it to be center aligned because then it's easier for you to center it on that line. So now that I've got the character or the paragraph, and this is for both of them, Made in America. Center aligned, the character is Myriad Pro Bold 52 point 200 with the type on a path tool. Click on the path right there at that point, and it's actually putting me down at the bottom, which is okay, no problem. Just type in M-A-D-E space I-N. Okay, and now I can come and get my regular selection tool, and you see I have this little line. I'm going to grab that line carefully, and I'm going to start dragging that line carefully around until I get it. Whoops, it gets a little bit crazy. It goes right out of control on you. And bring it up to the top. And now I have it basically up to the top. Let me get it back into position here. And actually, it looks like I might have made a slight error in changing this from 200 to 288. Maybe I should go back to 288. Let's go back to 288. And let's try hitting another. Yeah, there we go. Now you can see that that put it very close to where it should be. Okay, so again, if it's off a little tiny bit, and realize what I did here was I used guides to place this thing. I'm not using them right now because I've already got it done, but I used guides. And I have to go to the view menu. I go to guides. Let's see if we got the show here. Yeah, show guides. There's the guides. You see, I use the guides. So I'm going to do view guides, hide guides, because I don't need them for this. But that's how you're doing this. That little line right there, if I click on that little line right there and carefully just move it back a little tiny bit, I can get it to place pretty much where I want it. And you know what? I'm happy. That'll work for now. You get the general idea. You place it so it's nicely centered up there. Select this, edit copy, edit paste in place. So now you have a duplicate of that. You're going to grab this line, and you're going to carefully drag the line down to the bottom, and you're going to drag it inside. And it's sometimes a little bit tricky to do that. There it is. I did it. Okay, so I dragged it on the inside. Then I'm going to select it, and I'm going to change it from Made in to America. A-M-E-R-I-C-A. America. Made in America. Now I got to zoom back in so you can see the whole page. There we go. So now I have Made in America, and what I want to do with this is where the baseline shift comes in. I'm going to make this -35, and you can see as I hit it that way, see it's moving up. That's not the direction. You want to go negative. So let's go negative. See it start to go outside the line, and you're going to just keep bringing it out until you hit 35. or I believe it was 35. What was it? Yeah, 35. And at 35, what happens is the top of the character is now touching the line. So it is in pretty much the proper positioning for both of our graphic lines here. Then all I did was I selected the text. It's a very simple project, really. I come in here and I made it blue so that I alternate the colors. I select the made in and I alternate that color to red. And we're very close to being done. All I need to do to finish this now is come in and again grab my ellipse tool, come to the center very carefully, find your center, and when you're in the center, when you're comfortably in the center, make sure you're right on the center. Okay, hold the Shift and the Alt key down, and you're going to drag out another line until you hit right about there. And as you can see, I'm not on the center, so you have to adjust it. And then what you're going to do is you're going to position this thing so that it is sitting on the center. And I'm a little bit big on this, so let me see if I can just adjust it slightly, make it a little bit smaller. I think that's probably a little bit, oops, too much. See, it jumps around a little bit. It can be a little testy to get. There we go. I think I'm on the money. All right, I made that blue. And I'm sorry, I have the fill selected. I'm not really paying attention to what I'm doing. No fill, blue stroke. And I want the stroke to be, I'd guess about 3, I think is what I used. Yeah, so 3. So there's that one. And then I'm just going to go like this. Edit, copy. And there's other ways you could do this, but I'm just doing this because this is the simple way. Edit, copy. Edit, paste, and place. And then I'm going to scale this thing like this. Just scale it right up. Shift, Alt. Bring it up. Whoops, I got to get it until I can. There we go. Shift, Alt. I have to click on it first, I guess. There we go. Now we got it. Shift and Alt. And just make that duplicate go to about right there. And change it to red. And again, I had the wrong one forward. Let's get that and bring the stroke forward. And I think this one was about 6. And maybe it was 7, something like that. It's probably pretty good. And there you go. That's the logo. If I go back to my layers panel, let's hide the background layer. And there it is. There's your indicia. So I hope you don't think this is too difficult. I would like to see you give it a try and see if you can make it work. Thank you for watching.